Mhm. With that being said, what's going on, everybody? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series. This is your host, Clifton Pope, and with me today, I have a very special woman who basically has a very great emphasis on just overall meaning of what health and wellness should be about and how it should be practiced and how it should be implemented. And the reason why is because the person who I'm about to bring on, she's a certified natural health professional. She's a health coach and she's a herbalist. She's someone who I've gotten to know over time as far as someone who has like a passion for nutrition. And her emphasis is really on digestive health and basically ancestral diets and everything. And the most important thing is, and this is one thing I love about her, is that she's excited to change the health of those in the community who are looking for basically tools to support the body's healing, which is something that we all need and which is something that I stress tremendously on a regular basis on the HFWB podcast series and just health, fitness, wealth, business in general. Not to mention, she's a small time business owner. She basically does handmade soaps. She's a southern hippie queen, so to speak.
Yes.
And yes, she does a bunch of other personal care products, beauty, cosmetics. She's a woman of many traits. If you don't know who I'm talking about, please welcome my friend Whitney Brown on the HFWB podcast series. Whitney, how is it going, my friend?
It's going well, and I really appreciate you having me today on your podcast.
No, the pleasure's all mine. The theme of the HFWB podcast series, at least after myself just getting health, fitness, wealth, business, the name itself out there within itself, it kind of transitioned into like, I want to give people the opportunity who I feel are doing great things in the community, the opportunity to tell their story based on their overall experiences and what we can learn from them because I feel like you can learn something from everybody. With that being said, Whitney, give the people your backstory and kind of where that drive started for you as far as just wanting to explore not only the health and wellness world, number one, but just continue to heal people the best way they can to the best of their abilities.
Right. Okay. So I started my holistic health journey or the way in that direction when I was starting my family. And so I looked into nutrition and I wanted to basically provide the best for my children. So
Mhm.
that's where that started, and it kind of became somewhat of an obsession. And then just trying different things so that I could just give the best for them. And so throughout the years, I was the one in my extended family, the crazy one that was like, oh, you should be eating this, or oh, you should be eating that, or oh, try this, try that. And I was just always thirsting for knowledge, basically. And
Mhm.
that's how I got my start. And then over time, I started to be in the vicinity of people who were more in the holistic realm. And so I got introduced to essential oils. And from there, I started to become interested in herbs and just plants as healing. And it started off out of necessity. I started using these these essential oils and other just everyday natural products like hydrogen peroxide, vinegar, and things like that to clean with because I had terrible, terrible allergies and sensitivities to these chemicals. And so out of that, sprung by I have a green cleaning company. It's Wildflower Green Cleaning, so I do have that, and so that's one of my hats. So I'm going to tell you about the other hats that I have. So I
No, of
started,
course, please. This is the time to do so to educate the
awesome,
people. Let them know,
awesome,
Whitney.
yes, yes. So from that, I basically started making my house become a non-toxic household, a sanctuary for our bodies so that we are reducing our toxic load. And that's something that I love to talk to people about because that's not something that people think about whenever they think about like health. They just
Mm-mm.
think I need to eat right and I need to exercise, but there's just there's a whole spectrum, as far as
Yes.
like what you need to do in order to be healthy. And so that was how we started on that part of our journey. So we started with nutrition, and then we went to getting rid of toxins in our household. And then from there, I just continued on my nutrition journey. And in 2000 which 2023? I think it was 2021. In 2021, I went to school through Trinity School of Natural Health, and I became a health coach. And then I continued to go to school to become a certified natural health professional. And I am still continuing school, and I'll be a board certified naturopathic doctor if everything goes well. Fingers crossed when I finish
Fingers
school.
crossed for sure. We need
Yes.
more of those. We need more of those in the community, Whitney. So fingers
Yes.
crossed, definitely on that.
Yes, for sure. So that's my bigger goal. As far as the ancestral diets, I'm very passionate about that as well. I in the journey to what is true health, what is really good for the body, what is nutrition. It's nourishing foods, and so I
Mhm.
became obsessed with ancestral diets because this is how we used to eat before. The advent of processed foods, and how did we eat, and what were the
Yeah,
recipes,
yeah.
and what
Back
was the
when we used to
food.
hunt and gather, actually.
Exactly, yes. So I love learning about that way of eating. I love teaching about it, and I also love practicing it as well. So I actually teach classes at Natural Grocers on occasion about that. And in keeping with that, I also have a farm as well. So that's how I started off with my soap making. So about let's see. So in 2018, I started my farm, and I had it for about 4 years. And during that time, we got dairy goats and rabbits and chickens. And I used to milk those goats and make soap out of their milk. And I still continue to do that. But we ended up moving away from the farm and on into an apartment. And that was during that time where I went to school, and I kind of did my whole like networking thing or whatever as like a city girl kind of thing. But
Mhm.
I still kept rabbits in my friend's backyard, and I still grew things on my balcony. So I still continued. I kept with that because I definitely feel that it's super duper important to just have something as a fail safe. And
Yeah, without a doubt.
yeah, and so in July we moved to a new farm, and I pretty much got started right away, uh, just kind of tinkering here and there. So we have chickens, and our rabbits moved home from my friend's backyard, so they're here, and we have a couple of goats and some ducks. So I'm doing some things with that, and I'm really looking forward to spring. I planted a few things during the fall, so I have some things going. But I'm really looking to ramp up production in the spring and the rest of the year. So I'm looking forward to 2024. And I have a Facebook page for my farm. It's Agape Uprising Farm. And yeah, so I do wear a lot of hats, and I also homeschool my children. Two graduated, and then three are still, you know, on their schooling journey. So yeah,
You mentioned a whole bunch of things, but I want to bring up one specific thing that we
sure.
talked about the other day while we were talking on the phone. Just the importance of just like gardening and learning how to like grow our own food and everything.
Right.
Because I feel like during like this time, like I'll going into 2024, I already had like a sense of urgency like more than ever. But I feel like with all these billionaires who are buying up all this farmland, hence Bill Gates doing all that kind of stuff,
Oh
I
man.
feel like we need to work on, practicing taking it back to our roots and get back to the hunting and gathering days, because with the way things are going, I feel like time is going to be reverted to where we're going to reverse time, and we're going to eventually go back to that time. So if we do get there, we're going to have to know how to do exactly that. I want kind of stress to the people, Whitney, as far as like the importance of just from your perspective, gardening and learning how to really just grow your own food just to survive.
Okay, so you are like on the same page that I've been on for a while. So I am a huge conspiracy girl. I'm always looking into things. And so
Me
the difference
too.
between, yeah, so the difference between like conspiracy theory and conspiracy, like a theory is, oh, this might be happening. But a conspiracy is literally, I can't give you the definition verbatim, but it's literally people conspiring. If
Yeah.
you, you and I can sit at a table and talk about how we want to do good for the world, there are definitely people who sit around the table and think about how they can do for themselves and with no regard for anyone else. So
Yep.
If you
Yep.
think that's not happening, you are dead wrong. But yes, so basically, the way things have been going in the past few years, I've been seeing that there's definitely more of a sense of governmental control, governmental surveillance, and all of that.
Man, you're
And
telling me.
yes, and I tell my children all the time, I feel like there's going to come a point where we are not going to have all of the luxuries that we have. So we need to
Oh yeah.
get, yes, I'm talking, I'm like the internet, electricity, all of these things. So what if we didn't have these things? How would we be able to live? So I guess I'm a prepper in some ways, but also I don't want to come at it from a place of fear. I want to definitely just come at it from a place of I want to be knowledgeable, I want to be skilled, I want to be strong. So, yeah. So, gardening, right? Raising
Yeah.
animals. These are the foundations.
Right.
If the poop were to hit the fan, kind of thing.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
exactly. We need to
right,
understand the importance of it and just the basic steps on how we can get
right.
to that.
Right. And so, first, what you can do in the meantime, while you're getting started with that, because obviously animals take time to grow,
Without a
plants
doubt.
take time to grow, and also you acquiring the knowledge, that all takes time. So, in the meantime, I always say you need to know your farmer. So, you need to get
Mm,
to know the people around you who are growing food. Because when we're talking about holistic health, really food is one of the foundation. It is the foundation when it comes to holistic health. What you're
hmm.
putting in your body is probably one of the most important things that you can do because you're that's the building blocks of your body. So knowing your
Exactly.
farmer, yeah, knowing your farmer is super important, and supporting your farmer is
Mm,
super important. I was listening to a podcast and they said local farmers usually they farm on the side and then they have like a full-time job, and they're only 10 to 15 customers away from being able to be on the farm full time and produce more
mm.
food and all of that.
That's
So
some good
that's
data right there. It really is. I
exactly,
didn't even know that. Interesting.
yes. So it just takes you and a group of friends to start, buying some produce or buying some meat from a particular farmer in order for them to be able to continue to serve you and also expand to be able to serve others as well. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, so this year, that's why I plan, at least for now, I'm going to be trying to produce more vegetables. And also, I plan on growing holistic herbs or medicinal
Mm,
herbs, rather, on my farm for myself. But I'd like to be able to have some surplus to be able to support the local herbalists in the area as well. Um,
exactly. Be-
yeah,
Because most people don't realize it's like before the pharmaceutical industry took over the way it's taken over up to this very point, there was a period from like I would say the mid to late 1800s going into like if I'm not mistaken correctly, I could be off on this, right around like the Great Depression time. That
right,
was a time where herbs were really popular, and that's how we healed ourselves from
right.
basically any kind of diseases or conditions that came up during that time. And there was a lot that came up that are kind of extinct now, but have the potential to come back if things supposedly hit the fan, if you know what I mean. So it's like
Yes,
the importance of just knowing like the essence of those herbs and what it could do to the body as far as just from a healing perspective is very, very important. And I completely agree with you as far as just, staying in tune with your local farmers and everything. That's why I appreciate that a lot more than ever. Like I told you on the phone, that's why I appreciate people like Aislinn Campbell. Shout out to
right.
her. If you're
Shout
listening,
out to Aislinn.
nothing but love. You need to go check out Freedom Harvest Farms because that's the closest thing we have to this whole type of discussion as far as here within the coastal bend even being talked about. Now there's a couple
Right.
of others, but hers just stands out more than ever to where it's like I mean, I always knew about it like here and there, but it's like actually seeing it for myself up close and in person and understanding the significance and the importance of it. We just have to get back to our roots. We just have to get back to just like you alluded to, Whitney, nourishing our bodies and just putting like more organic grass fed stuff as far as into our bodies to where we can really feel our body being completely nourished. How do you feel about that as far as the organic, the grass fed side of things? How do you feel like that is even nourishing the body from your perspective.
You're about to take me on a whole tangent. Okay,
No, by all
so
means.
yeah, okay. So as far as grass fed is concerned, a lot of people are like, "Oh, what's the difference? What's the big deal?" So first off, these animals would be on the healthier side because they're eating their natural diet, and the reason
Mm-hmm.
why we want grass fed or pastured. So grass fed is usually like what is it, cow, lamb, etc., and then pastured poultry. Pastured, I guess if you're going to eat lamb, even pigs can be on the pasture too as well. What's the point? What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is when these animals are out on the pasture and they're eating grasses and things like that, they are basically harnessing vitamins for us. So we're known as what's called monogastric, which mono meaning one and gastric meaning stomach. So we only have one stomach chamber, and then we have the rest of our gut, which is our intestines.
Right.
Animals like cows, for instance, have multi-chambered stomachs, and they have a very different microbiome or bacterial profile that can actually break down these fiber in the grasses and convert it into vitamins that are more bioavailable or ready to use for our bodies. So when we eat these animals, or when we eat or drink products in the form of like raw milk or like pastured eggs, we are able to utilize those vitamins more readily than if you were to go out yourself and chew on a piece of grass. We don't have the same kind of bacterial profile. Yeah, to
Exactly.
break it
Yeah.
down. Yeah, so that's the importance of that. And so that's what you're going to find more with your local farmers
Right.
versus something that you get from Walmart, for instance, or even HEB. And so whenever I try not to buy eggs from HEB, I try to support my local farmers because my chickens are still babies and they're not laying just yet. But I try to support my local farmers because even even my apologies, my 5-year-old walked in the room.
All good. We were talking about supporting local farmers and not
Right.
buying eggs from HEB.
Right, because they're the ones that are going to be having their animals out on pasture
Right.
versus industrial farms where these animals are on cement or they're in a whole house that has thousands of chickens, and they never see the light of day. They never see a blade of grass. And so if you're getting your food from animals that are sick or sad, then you eat that. You're made of that. That's what you're going to be made of.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we want to eat food from happy, healthy animals so that we can be happy and healthy. So that's my big thing with that. And also, I love to teach people about eating the whole animal. So not just the muscle meat, which is what we're all used to. A burger is made of the muscle meat. But I have the best burger that I've ever made at home was actually a primal blend in quotations, which was the muscle meat ground in with like the heart and the liver and other organs. That was the best tasting. And the reason why I think it was the best tasting burger I'd ever made was because my body was like, wow, this is what nutrients taste like.
Wow. Yeah.
It was definitely on another level. And even in my garden, whenever I pick a piece of lettuce and I taste it, it's something about it is like, this tastes like lettuce. When I go to the grocery store and I buy lettuce or even tomatoes, sometimes it just tastes like water. It's weird. And so I don't know, like water drinkers
Yeah.
will know that water has a flavor, but it just tastes like water and so watered down. So this is why it's important to try your best to grow your own or support people who are growing and raising things, because they're just going to do it differently, because they're going to turn around and they're going to feed that chicken to their family. They're going to feed that lettuce to their family. So they're less likely to be spraying chemicals on it. They're less likely to be pumping them full of medications and antibiotics. And so they're going to be passing on that same mindset to you, the consumer. So that's why it's so important to support them, and also to try and do your best for yourself growing. And it doesn't have to be, oh, well, I don't have a yard. Like, I lived in an apartment, but I was like, hey, friend, you have space in your backyard. Can I keep my rabbits there? And then I had another friend whose mother, she was elderly and really couldn't get outside much, but her backyard, so because of that, her backyard was overgrown. So I said, hey, why don't we get together and clean up her backyard and grow stuff in it? And obviously, we asked permission to do that from her mother, and she said it was fine. And so we grew food in her backyard. And that was while I lived in an apartment. So don't let anything stop you.
Yeah, don't let anything stop you, because all it takes is just passion, joy, and just great excitement, or actually vice versa, passion, excitement, and great joy in the things that you do, as far as just to make a difference in your community. And now,
Right.
putting that all together with all the things you're already doing, now you're
Right.
in the process of just continuing to bring great minds and great individuals who are all about the healthier living naturally with a holistic approach together here in the coastal bend, of course, where you were born and raised. Just have to throw that out there for those who are
Yes.
listening to the HFWB podcast series. Miss Whitney Brown is born and raised here in the coastal bend, doing all the things she just explained to do, as far as just from a healing expected perspective. Now we're on the come up, as far as me, Whitney, a couple of other people like Cassandra, Larry Joe, and everybody who I can think of. We're all coming together to, of course, form basically a nice, wonderful organization called Heal Coastal Bend, which
Right.
most people may not know about it, and that's okay. Probably, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, if things don't get too crazy by the end of 2024, Heal Coastal Bend will basically be the main focal point, as far as just how you're supposed to heal yourself from within. Tell me, Whitney, how did that come together from your perspective, to where yourself and Cassandra, if I'm not mistaken correctly, kind of
Yes.
lured me into all of this? And what is kind of the overall message you want to get, as far as just what Heal Coastal Bend stands for? Because a lot of people don't know this. I mean, you are currently the director of this at the moment. So I just want to
I
throw that
am.
out there as well. So I want
Put
to hear,
another hat on my head.
yeah, another hat on the head. Miss Director of the Heal Coastal Bend, what is the overall mission and outlook you see for 2024 and beyond for this up and coming organization that's just focusing on just healing people from within, one person at a time?
Right, right. Okay. So to answer your first question, how did this start? So basically, it started with me talking to people and networking with people, because whenever I came
Exactly.
into town and I lived in town as a city girl, I met a bunch of awesome people. And every time I met someone, I usually like added them as a friend on Facebook, but I usually didn't just do that. I took it a step further, and I would reach out to people and I'd say, hey, you want to grab tea? Hey, you want to grab lunch? And so almost every week or every other week, I was meeting with a new and interesting and fascinating person. And really, it's not that these people were like famous or celebrities or anything like that, but I believe that each individual person's story is just so unique and fascinating. So that's how
Exactly.
it started. So basically, I was networking with people, and then I met Cassandra at a postpartum swap, which is basically a bunch of moms get together and bring their old baby stuff, and new moms come, and if they need something, they just take what they need. And shout out to Courtney, because Courtney is the co-chair for the community on our board, the community co-chair with you. And Courtney put on
Shout out
that
to Courtney. I
postpartum
just
swap.
put out the podcast episode we just did about last week, if I'm not mistaken. She's such a wonderful person, is what she
Oh
does,
yes,
as far as just being there for the moms. And I told her this, just being there for the moms, as far as just during the whole birth process, afterwards, just so they could establish some sort of comfort level with beginning to raise the child.
that's awesome. Yes, yes, I love what she does, and I love what she does for the community as well.
Yes.
So yes, so she hosted that event, and at that event, that's where I met Cassandra, and she's a parenting coach as well as a counselor, and
Yep.
we got to chatting, And she just has so much enthusiasm, and
Yes.
sometimes her enthusiasm even beats out mine. And so, um,
It
what
does.
she, yeah. So I was like, well, let me put together a lunch. So I had her, and then I had my friends Stephanie and Omar, and
Shout out to them too. I love Stephanie and Omar. They're such wonderful. They're the most wonderful, down to earth people I think I've ever met, and we need more people like them alone within itself, because just their knowledge and wisdom on just not only just the holistic healing perspective, but just life itself from like the universal perspective, spiritual
right, right.
perspective. It's just they're wonderful
I love
people. I
them.
love them
Yep.
dearly. Shout out to them too.
Shout out to Crash Bell. Yes. So,
Yes.
yeah. So I've had the meeting with them and Cassandra, and then my friend Thunder, who just joined us in the Heal group as well. And we had a lunch. And during that lunch, Omar was talking, Cassandra was talking, we were all talking, and they suggested that we start a little like a holistic networking group. And so we did, and it was called what is called Coffee, Tea, and Therapy. So we started meeting up at a local cafe, and we had different practitioners from different realms under the holistic umbrella, if you will. And
Yep.
just different people from all walks of life came in with different skills. And so we continued doing that once a month. And then from there, we decided that we would start this network basically, so
Yeah.
that not only do we know about each other, but we can help the public to basically, we're going to be a beacon for the
Mm.
public to find holistic alternative care when they have an interest in it, or they've basically hit a wall with traditional allopathic medicine. And
Right.
that's something that I like to talk to people about and teach about. So going back to what you had said before about in the 1930s, health definitely, the way that people looked at health and all that definitely switched, and that was by design. So
It was.
basically, yeah. And I know people are like, oh my gosh, conspiracy, but
Mm-mm.
the yeah, the Rockefeller Foundation, or the Rockefellers, basically had a hold on the oil industry, the petroleum industry,
Yeah.
and they figured out how to extract things from plants. Originally, plants they're so biochemically diverse. They have all these different things. It's like a symphony, right?
Yeah.
And these these people found out how to take like the one thing, like in lavender, that makes you sleepy. They took one thing out of there, not understanding that you're gonna be like, maybe that's the triangle, right? You're hitting the little triangle instrument, ting ting ting, whereas the lavender plant itself is a whole orchestral performance, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they took those things and they synthesized them, and they mixed them basically with petrochemicals. And if you're not familiar with petroleum, that's gas, of course, but it's also the thing
Yes.
that plastics are made out of, and it is also the thing that most medications these days are made out of, as another vehicle for these certain people to make money. And not only did they do this with medicine, they also went after the holistic and naturopathic herbal schools, all these things. They systematically went after them with like a basically a smear campaign to get them shut down.
Right.
And they also went to colleges and offered them funding to use their what is it, what's the word, oh, their method of
Method to
schooling.
madness and stuff. Yes.
Yes, yes, but it was based off of, this is how you can use this medication that we're selling, basically, and we
Yep.
will fund your department if you only use our thing. And that's what happened, and that's how we got to where we are now. That's how we got to where we are now. And so, what I want to say about that is, modern healthcare, allopathic care, is for crisis situations. It's for your arms falling off, your head's busted open, all of those things. That's you need open heart surgery. That's for crisis situations. But we're talking about what we're talking about is holistic healthcare, which is we want to prevent those things. We want to maintenance the body by nourishing it and by cleansing it, by detoxing it through various things. It could be herbs, but it could be exercise, like with what you do.
Yes.
Excuse me. And various other things. And we don't just look at the symptoms. We look at the whole person. We look at the mind. We look at the body. We look at the spirit. So it's not just, oh, you got symptoms. No, we sit down and we listen to people, and we want to get to the root cause of things. In school, I was taught that, if there's a waterfall, if you want to stop a waterfall, you don't just keep gathering buckets underneath trying to catch the water. You want to look at the source of the waterfall. If they pretend like the waterfall is an issue.
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to look at the source of the waterfall if you want to stop the waterfall. So that's what we do in holistic health. So, and another analogy, I love analogies. We could, you don't get oil changes on your car after your car, gets busted up because it didn't have any oil in it. But a lot of people, right. So some people maintenance their car, and then that does happen to some people. And that's how people treat their bodies. They don't do anything until a crisis is occurring. So yeah.
This is true.
Yeah. So that's why we, as holistic educators and health coaches and personal trainers and all of that, we want to help maintenance the body so that people can live a long and healthy life.
Yeah.
And so HEAL is basically, it is a network of holistic practitioners, and lots of people fall under that. So under the mind, we have counselors and people who focus on mental health and mindfulness. And then you have the body, where we have personal trainers like yourself and health coaches, naturopathic doctors. And then you have the spirit. And so there's Bible coaches and yoga practitioners and, spiritual leaders and things like that. So those are all people that can fall under the umbrella of that. And we want to make sure that people know that we're here, because there's so many people that I speak to on the streets, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do this and that. I didn't know that. Oh yeah, we have this, and I didn't know we had that practitioner. I didn't know that was going on. So we want to bring awareness to the fact that we're here to help.
Yeah, and the coffee, tea, and therapy networking events y'all organized to start that off was the major key to doing that, because that's how I got dragged into this by Cassandra inviting me to one of those, and I looked at it, I was like, this is something different. I'm gonna go check it out. My intuition was telling me, go check this out, and that's how I got to meet all these different kind of people who were basically just healers when it's all said and done, and just having all of us come together, sit down, talk about what needs to be done, and just kind of just getting on the same page to where we can, of course, provide people not only just the information, knowledges, and the resources, but just let them know that we're here to stay and that we care about just healing people one person at a time. And I feel like that will probably be the biggest thing that I think that Heal Coastal Bend, at least from my perspective, can accomplish within the community 2024 and beyond. And that can definitely help with just how the overall state of just health and wellness within itself is, especially with all the sicknesses that's been going around, with all the different strains of flu, different strains of COVID, not to mention all the pre-existing health conditions that are passed down from generations to generations. You factor all of those things in together, Whitney. From your perspective, where do you feel like the state of health will be 5 years from now? Just from your perspective.
Okay. So there will be two boats. There will be the Ark and there will be the Titanic.
Man. That's another good analogy right there, actually.
Yes. So there will be the Ark and there will be the Titanic. So
I like that.
There are many people who are awakening right now to what's going on, and a lot of things are in plain sight. And if you're paying attention, you will realize that maybe the government doesn't want the best for our health, and maybe the doctors are only doing this for a paycheck, or whatever the case is. And that's not to say that everyone is like that. Let me
There
let
is a
me put a
lot of
little
people like that,
asterisk.
though, and I've been definitely saying that for the last few years, for sure. For sure, and that's kind of the reason why I started health, fitness, wealth business, because of that exact reason alone.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. And so,
Yep.
so there will be the ark. There will be the awakened who want better, and they want to know better, and they want to do better, and they will come with us, basically. And
Yep.
then there will be, you know, the Titanic, where in 5 years we will see the after effects of continuing this lifestyle of eating poisoned foods and using poison chemicals to clean their house with, and using poisonous personal care products and using poisonous medications and so on and so forth. That's where they will be, because they're just continuing to bombard their body. They don't know how to detoxify themselves. They don't even understand. And so some will be headed and they're stuck in their ways, and others will get on the Titanic because they're ignorant, unfortunately, and they don't know. And so I myself, I feel like one of my life goals and life purposes, really why I'm here, is to educate people. I love teaching people so
Yeah.
much. And I feel like the thing that needs to be learned most is that we need to run from modernity, basically, like all of these things that they tell you that are innovative and wonderful and all of that. And some of it definitely is, but a lot of it has already gone too far. It's gone too
Yep.
far.
It
And
has.
we definitely need to get back to our roots, and yeah, just trying to
Take
keep
it
our
back
black.
to the basics, basically, is what you're saying,
Exactly.
Whitney. And it's like
Oh
that's
yes.
that's a really good analogy. So for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series and are still trying to figure out ways on how to get on track towards healthier living, just know that there's a sense of urgency more than ever to, of course, make that transition. Because as Whitney just painted the most perfect analogy that I think I've heard in regards to this, as far as you either can get on the ark and be awakened and travel along the way into a new day and see a new light, or you could be on the Titanic sinking down from the poison and all the chemicals and all the toxicness that comes with that. I love that. That's a great way as far as just to paint the overall state of health going forward. And you heard it here first on the HFWB podcast series. With that being said, Whitney, I'm actually at the point where I'm going to ask you a list of questions, basically who I ask everybody who comes on my
Sure.
podcast, just so people can know you a little bit more.
Great.
First question out of that is simple. What's the first thing you do or think of every single day that you wake up?
I literally, oh, let's see. When I wake up, I plan the first 5 things I'm going to do before I even get up out of the bed. And it changes
That
from
is
day
being
to day.
productive right there. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Is it being productive? I guess so, yeah. But I usually plan the first 5 things I'm going to do before I get up. So that's what I'm thinking about.
I love it. I love it. When it comes to health and wealth, they're basically two sides in a coin. You can't have one without the other. What is your own personal definition of the words health and wealth in your eyes?
Okay. So you can't enjoy wealth if you're dead. So there's that.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. Or you're going to be using all of it to make yourself better if you're sick. So, yes, health comes first. Health is the catalyst to wealth. If you are physically healthy, then maybe you can go and work that job for a little while so you can put aside money to invest. Or as far
Mhm.
as like mentally healthy, you are not in survival mode and you can make those moves like in a chess game, to get you to the point of wealth. So yeah, without health, there is no wealth. I
Yeah,
feel.
and it's kind of like, I mean, there. Last time I checked, there is a book that kind of is written about how you could think and you could literally grow rich. I
Oh
mean, think
yeah,
and grow rich. I
Napoleon
mean, you
Hill.
could literally
Yeah,
manifest all of these things as far as just health and wealth into existence because all things are created twice, first mentally, then physically. When you look at it from that perspective, you can pretty much do
I agree.
anything by beginning with the end in mind. But
First five things in my head in the morning when I wake up.
exactly, that too, for without a doubt. When it comes to the word heal, Whitney, what does that word mean to you as far as just heal?
Okay. So I'm going to jump back really quickly. HEAL Coastal Bend stands for Holistic and Rich Authentic Lives. So
I
that's
like
one thing
that.
it means to me. But what it,
That's a good definition, though.
yes. So, but what does heal? The word heal mean to me? Let's see. Um, Basically, getting rid of things that are toxic in your life, number one, and then letting
Mhm.
in things that are nourishing. And it doesn't always have to deal with food and chemicals. It deals with, you know, what you're consuming. What
Right.
are you consuming to support your journey, your spiritual journey, your mental journey, your emotional journey, and your physical journey as well. And we have everything that we need inside of us to make that happen. So to say that I'm a healer, I mean, yes, you could say that. I have a lot of knowledge, but I can give you a box full of knowledge, and if you don't use it, then it's not gonna, do anything for you. But we
Yeah,
all have a healer within us. So yeah, just
exactly.
getting yourself aligned to the point where you can get to from point A unhealed to point B, which is healed. So yeah.
That's a great answer and an interesting perspective all in one, and you gotta love it. You gotta love it. As we transition now into a little thing I like to call either or, where you'll basically pick either or. And again, this is just picking your brain, Whitney, and letting the people
Okay.
know a little bit more about you, of course. What would you choose out of loyalty or respect?
Uh, loyalty, loyalty, probably.
Would you rather live in space or live in the ocean?
Oh gosh. Oh, the ocean. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's also, but both are equally scary. So
No, but I will say this though, at least with the ocean, you'll have more of a sense of communication since that's what the element water stands for. So you might be in
right,
better
right.
hands with that, actually.
Yeah.
Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
Uh, Anonymous and rich, because I be thinking like the wrong people are rich. Like if I was rich, I don't even know what I would do. It wouldn't just be for myself. It's not even about fancy cars.
Yeah, yeah.
My dream slash goal is to become like the head of an intentional community slash eco village. So I could make that
Mm,
happen if I were rich. But if only the people like around me knew me.
I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah, yeah.
That's funny. Would you rather have unlimited free meals at your favorite restaurant or unlimited first class tickets?
Unlimited first class tickets because I would like to eat the food from all around the world, not just one restaurant.
I got you. Would you rather dance to every song or sing to every song?
Ooh, that's hard. Literally, like my top three things in life are like sleeping slash eating. They battle for number one, and then like singing and dancing. Um, Maybe dance because like can't I love karaoke, but you just everybody's voice can't sing every song well.
That is true. There's certain songs I could sing on. There's certain songs that I just leave it alone because I know it is not for me. But now picture
Yeah.
this scenario, right? Wendy, you're trapped Wendy, you're trapped on an island and you have the opportunity to listen to five of your favorite music artists. It doesn't matter what genre it is, it could be their entire catalog of music. Who would those five artists be?
Okay. That's really hard. So I actually love Korean music. So
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
got into the whole like K-pop scene, but now I listen to Korean R&B. I'm a grown up now.
of course, yes.
Let's see. Right now I'm okay, but before that, probably Mariah Carey because I listen to Mariah Carey like all the time. Like there was a point where I was listening to Mariah Carey every morning just because I don't know, her music just makes me like happy. I don't know. Let's see. And then I'm really into Sweet the Kid. He's a Korean artist. So every time his songs come on my playlist, I never skip them. And yeah, oh gosh, you
That's
put
two
me on
right
the spot.
there.
You put me on the spot. There's an artist that I'm really into right now. Her name is So Yoon. She's from a band called Sesonyon. So both of those are interchangeable. Uh, but she just has a really interesting voice, and she like makes the guitar sing. She be making that guitar sing. And then, oh gosh,
You're down to two, Whitney.
oh no. I'm like, who else? I'm like, I don't even know because I just listen to the same music every time. Probably Whitney Houston is the other one. I'm actually named after Whitney Houston, and I have a little sister named Mariah Carey. Not Mariah Carey, Mariah. So that's a funny thing. My fifth one probably would be a pianist, actually. Either Yiruma or Chad Lawson or Glenn Natali. So I don't know. There's like probably people you never heard of besides Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, but
No. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just very cultural, very diverse, very unique. There will be someone somewhere across the world who will hear that, who will relate to those vibrations and energy that is being
okay.
received from the music out to the universe and back to them, to where they will come and hang out with you and take you off of that island. Without a doubt, I'm pretty sure there's someone who can relate to those sounds. And there's nothing wrong with having different tastes in music. I mean, that's what makes it much more interesting, without a doubt. What is your favorite go-to meal?
Oh man, my favorite go-to meal, honestly, it's bacon and eggs, honestly. But let me tell you about the bacon and eggs. So the eggs have to be from like local farmers, and
Of course.
then the bacon that I get is nitrate and nitrite free. Those are the preservatives that they usually use within them, and those are carcinogens. We don't want that. And
Right.
then a trick that my daughter taught me was whenever you're making, like you scramble the eggs, sometimes people add some water or they add like cream to it or milk or whatever.
Yeah.
I add broth to it. So I add a
Mm.
little dash of broth in there because growing up, my grandma would always make eggs, but they would be kind of like not wet, but kind of like moist. I hate dry eggs. And so when you add in an extra bit of liquid, your eggs are still fully cooked, but they are like kind of like moist. I don't know if that's weird or not, but
No, that's actually interesting. I never heard of that. Putting chicken broth in eggs. I might actually try
right.
that myself just to
Oh, yeah.
experiment. That's a good recommendation, actually. I've never heard of it, but it's
Yeah.
interesting to try at least.
Yes, and so and I usually either cook the eggs and bacon in lard, bacon grease, or butter, and that's in tune with the ancestral diets, as I said
Mm,
before.
yeah.
Um, so it's a basically like a meal that has foods in there. So eggs are one of nature's most perfect foods, as
Yes.
is like unprocessed raw milk, and then yeah. So and I need protein. Like especially
Yeah.
when I start the day, I need protein, and usually like very limited on the carbs, especially in the morning. But anyway, yeah. So my go-to meal: bacon and eggs with a twist.
No, there's nothing wrong with bacon and eggs. That's a really good way to start the day. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, as they say, without a doubt. And I'm a firm believer of that myself. Now, what's the favorite place as far as traveling goes, Whitney, that you've been to so far, that as far as like your favorite vacation thus far? And where's a place that you haven't been to that you would like to visit? Say, for instance, dream vacation.
Okay. So we went to New Mexico for a family reunion, and I just think that New Mexico is just absolutely hands down beautiful. It's just beautiful there, like the colors of the sunset. And then we were in Rio Doso, which I think is like a resort town,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just near the mountains and the pine trees. It's just a different feel from Corpus because Corpus is really flat and brushy. So New Mexico was my would be my favorite, and then let's see, my dream vacation would be Lake Como, Italy. So I
Mm.
watched, yeah. So we used to watch a lot of PBS. I love PBS, and there's a show called Rick Steves Europe, And so he goes all around Europe and he shows you different places. And so Lake Como, Italy is like one of those places that has like houses along this giant lake and mountains and just, I don't know, it's just beautiful. And then Italy, because like, you know, just the food there, just the food, like
Real
that's food
authentic
Italy right
Italian
there.
food. I'm a sucker
Yeah.
for Italian food myself, so I would love to go to Italy just for that alone.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, Lake Como, Como, Lake Como, Italy is where I'd like to go. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. When you're not doing all the things that you're doing on a regular basis, Whitney, as far as wearing all the multiple hats that you wear and everything, what are
Yes.
some of your personal favorite hobbies that you like to do that many people may not know you like to do?
Let's see. Well, many people know that I like to read, but I am a nonfiction girl through and through. I I just want to learn. I want to learn so much, and
Yes.
usually it comes out when I talk to people, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just like info dumped on you, but yeah. So I love reading. Sometimes I do play video games occasionally, so that's something that people might not know that I do. I like to sit and stare at my chickens. I don't know if that's a hobby.
No, you're just in tune with nature. That's the way I look at it. You're
Right,
doing what you're
right,
supposed to be doing. Sometimes what you love to do becomes your hobby and your passion at the same exact time. And that just goes to show you how much you truly love what you're overall doing. And at the same time, your willingness to learn, which is just incredible. Because I tell people this all the time. When you look at it from a perspective of you don't have all the answers. You don't even have all the questions to those answers. When you
right, right.
approach it from that perspective, the world becomes your library. And again, it just goes back to what I alluded to earlier. Information, knowledge, and resources are everywhere. And it's like the pickings and the choosings like a buffet. You can just stuff it on your
Right.
plate and just ingest yourself with this. You can be on track to becoming a better overall person. Just from a knowledge perspective, because it is powerful if utilized in the right way. That's the key right
Exactly.
there. My last question for you, Whitney, before we wrap everything up, is an interesting one. If you had the opportunity to go back in time and talk to yourself, say about 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself? And at the same time, based on your current overall journey, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Oh, okay. If I were to talk to myself 10 years ago, I would have told myself to probably go to school then. That would be one thing. And then where do I see myself 10 years from now? Let's see. Gosh, hopefully 10 years from now, I am living on that plot of land with my people, and we're farming together, we're raising animals, and we're just living off of the land and enjoying life and in a joyful space. That's where I see myself 10 years from now.
Just tending to Mother Earth as you should, Whitney,
Yeah,
as you're already doing, but just taking it to a whole nother level as time goes on down the road.
yeah.
Whitney, give the people as far as if they want to get in contact with you, as far as how can they reach you, as far as social media handles, all that wonderful stuff. Now would be a great time to do exactly
Sure.
that.
So I am mostly on Facebook. One of these days I'll get with Instagram, but I'm mostly on Facebook. You can find me at Agape Holistic Health and Wellness if you're looking for coaching and nutrition advice and things like that. You can also follow my farm. It's Agape Uprising Farm on Facebook. And if you want some soap or other non toxic personal care items, you can find me at Southern Hippie Queen on Facebook. And also, if you need green cleaning, I have Wildflower Green Cleaning as well, which is also a non toxic cleaning
Excuse
company.
me.
So that's where you can find me. And if you just want to be friends, look me up. I'm Whitney Brown. So I'm sure there's a ton of Whitney Browns out there. But yeah, I think you'll know me when you see me because
This
yeah.
this has just been a wonderful, well needed conversation that I feel like the people will benefit off of. And if you haven't learned anything from this conversation, it's just that there's a sense of urgency as far as just for getting back to our roots, as far as just cleaning up our overall systems and at the same time strengthening our overall systems, because it's going to get to the point where doctors and nurses are going to be so overwhelmed that we're going to have to be forced to become our own doctors, and we're going to have to be able to have to take care of our own selves as far as just, learning to heal ourselves through herbs, or whether it's just to grow our own fruits and vegetables and get back to the farm days of just raising animals, whatever may be left out of those animals that can provide that nourishment. I feel like at the end of the day, if you can take anything out of this episode right here, the sense of urgency is on now. We have to get back to our roots. We have to get back to our hunter and gatherer days. Consume just more natural, clean food, and just the overall healthier living of just practicing your movement, your breathing, your thinking. Again, nutrition, hydration, and sleep. The 6 elements just to balance out the yin and the yang, masculine, feminine energies that the universe, provides us. I feel like that's a great way we should end that. And Whitney, I just thank you so much for just making time out of your busy schedule to simply bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. I love the conversation. It was definitely well needed and well deserved. I learned so much, and it just goes to show you what needs to be done.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me and for taking your time out. I really appreciate it.
Without a doubt, Whitney. And with that being said, this is yours truly, Clifton Pope of the HFWB podcast series, encouraging y'all to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. Until next time, peace and love.